TFA Nation, Gabe, and I'm here today to bring you another installment of R3 Wickets. And guys, I am so excited for this one. I'm going to say, it was such an exciting match. As you guys see, rocking the John Cena championship belt right here. Actually, we're not talking about that right now. But guys, I mean, that's it. Obviously, got the baggy green on. You guys know what we're here to talk about. Australia winning their first ever T20 championship, right? 14 years in the making. You know, it's so exciting. So many thoughts about this match. First and foremost, I feel bad for New Zealand fans. New Zealand fans, they gave their heart out. That team gave their heart out. You really can't be mad at how far they went and what they accomplished, especially with what they faced, okay? And when I'm talking about what they faced, not having a Loki Ferguson, not having Devin Conway, losing the toss, which was huge. The odds were against them, okay? The fate was against them. But with that being said, hold your head. This says, to me, and we'll talk about what I learned, New Zealand is still a contender. Gosh, this team, 3 championships in all 3 formats in the last year so far, year plus, right? ODI was almost 2 years ago, 2019. New Zealand, what they do is so impressive, and anyone in the cricket world needs to understand just how what a valuable franchise and how well managed this New Zealand team is. But with that being said, I want to start off with Australia. Quick recap in the game. Australia wins the toss, come out, bowl, and New Zealand put up what I thought was a respectable total. It was the highest actual in ever. And I'm sitting there. I had several people on with me today, guest appearances from Ozjad, the cricket connoisseur, Aaron. My man stayed the entire time. Thank you, Aaron, so much. Guys, if you have not followed his channel, please do so. Also follow Ozjad's channel. You guys know those guys have great content. But Aaron was there the entire time, and I had Dr. Jihan in the second innings, and it was so much fun watching this. But Australia comes in. They put up New Zealand puts up a high total despite some really good bowling from Hazelwood, right? Josh Hazelwood there, but it wasn't enough. The Aussies were able to chased it within the 19th over. So it was a comfortable chase, but it was still a big total. And if the Aussies didn't approach it the way they did, they could have gotten themselves in trouble. But I'm going to start with what I liked, okay? And what I liked is really, really simple. It's so hard for me to sit here and not gush about a David Warner. Now, I'm not trying to take anything away from other people that contributed to the win, okay? The highest run scorer was Mitchell Marsh, and we'll talk about him later. Mitchell Marsh, a guy that got dropped to 6 or 7, right? A guy that had gone through some controversy himself, and he's been a big part of 2 huge wins for the Aussies, and it was him, and I want to say, who was it that partnered up with Mitchell Marsh? It might have been Wade too, right? A couple of games before that, and brought the game home from. So he's been a huge person in this tournament. But David Warner getting back to form, guys, has been so impressive. I mean, 53 today on 38 balls, a 139 strike rate. David Warner did what he had to do. He led his team to victory. To me, this is his 3rd or 4th 50. He should have had a 50 last time. He got bowled out, I think, at 38 or caught at 38. Remember, guys, it was a false click, right? It wasn't a Nick bad call the game prior, but ultimately David Warner came out and initially handed this team, or started them off in a really good form, especially since, and we'll talk about that later, Aaron Finch wasn't able to establish that partnership, but he was there, and along with Mitchell Marsh, they set the tone for this game. And 53 on 38, I'm so glad, because David Warner has gone through so much this last 6 to 8 months, right? He was out of form. He got dropped as the captain, guys, from SRH. Dropped. Okay, and he had to sit there and cheer on the fans. To his credit, he sat there. I remember watching him in the stand, cheering on his teammates, cheering on Kane Williamson, who was made captain after him. And you got to give that guy a lot of respect to still show his face after I got dropped. I guarantee you, SRH regretting that decision. And David Warner made himself a whole bunch of money in this IPL. In this World Cup, and he will definitely be selected as one of the first players in the IPL. He's going to go for a lot of money. But with that being said, David Warner, it's clear now. It was the injury. It was that groin that has, had him, it was a nagging injury. It took forever. He never had surgery. He never really took time off to let it heal. And that's one of the issues in cricket, guys. It's a year-round sport now, and a lot of these guys, try to play through the injuries or rehab quick and come back quick, and it doesn't work. Jofra Archer, great example. Jofra Archer hurt his elbow, didn't have surgery, because you have surgery, you're going to be out 3 to 6 months, and that's a lot of time you're taking off. It's costing you a lot of money. So Jofra Archer tried to rehab, come back hurt his elbow again. I'm actually concerned about that. But again, going back to David Warner, this guy had to deal with all that hate, and to show up in this World Cup, be named, man of the match, not as a man of the, man of the series, right? Of the tournament, player of the tournament. That's awesome. So congratulations to you, one David Warner. What else did I like? Again, Mitchell Marsh. This is a guy who also, the Aussies, controversial team. Everyone from the JL, the head coach, to the players. You guys know that there was a sandpaper gate not too long ago. Controversial team. But these guys are fighters. They're scrappers. And, Jihan says they never go down not swinging. They're going to go down swinging. They're going to go down fighting. And a guy, Mitchell Marsh, who got dropped, he went to 6 or 7 to the side. And he faced some controversy as well. 77 on 50 today, 154 strike rate. Mitchell Marsh was an absolute monster out there. On a tear, hit 4 sixes, 6 fours. The guy was not playing. And then finally, I'm going to go ahead and talk about Glenn Maxwell, because I personally was like, don't put him in there. When they brought him in there, I wanted to see Smudge, because I knew Smudge would at least last and not lose his wicket. And Glenn Maxwell, guys, look at his last 3 or 4. He has not had a good tournament. He has really struggled this tournament. But, on the stream, the Cricket Connoisseur, as well as Jihan, I would say you go with your guys. You back your guys. You back what guys have done it before, that have shown class. And again, Maxwell performed today, 28 on 18, 155 strike rate. That's what they needed out of him. Good for him. Good for him. He ends up winning the game with that. I think it was a reverse sweep, and it's good to get that monkey off of his back. But what did I really like, guys? It was the bowling once again. And guys, right now we have to seriously start understanding how good Josh Hazlewood is. Josh Hazlewood, I think, because the Aussies have such great bowling, and you got a Patty Cummins, who's your frontline guy, doesn't get the kind of attention that a Patty Cummins does. But this guy, in my opinion, especially in T20, is every bit as good. All right, 4 overs, 16 runs, 3 wickets, 4 economy rate. This guy's now won 2 championships in a month, because he won with CSK in the last 2 months. He won with CSK and helped them win. He was huge in that championship game as well, and in the IPL, and he won here. Josh Hazlewood, I'm tipping my cap to you, okay? You're not Patty Cummins yet, though, all right? You're not the best a man could be, but you're pretty close. I'm going to start calling Josh Hazlewood Patty Cummins light, baby, and hopefully he gets that Patty Cummins money next year in the IPL. But the bowling, you also had Adam Zampa only get 1 wicket, but only went for 26 runs, 4 overs, okay? And this was the kind of performance I wanted to see. It wasn't the what was it last time? 5 wides, 2 no balls or whatever. There was a couple wides this time, but only 1 drop. And as a team, collectively, they played much better. Concerned a little bit about Mitchell Stark. We'll talk about that later. But all in all, it was a great bowling performance, a great batting performance, and the Aussies did their job. On New Zealand side, what did I like? All right, guys, here's the bottom line. I was so wrong about Kane Williamson. All right, and Kane Williamson made me eat a crow last year, because I just saw Kane Williamson play in the IPL, and I was like, this guy's in the Fab Four. This is what you guys are talking about. He's trash. And recency bias, right? You just look at what was in front of you. I had only been a cricket fan about a year at that point, right? And I had not seen him perform. What happens after the IPL? He comes out and absolutely holds court and destroys my West Indies. Oh my gosh, West Indies, I apologize. That's my fault. I guarantee you, Williamson said, Americans said, what about me? Oh, and he's a West Indies fan? They're going to pay. They're going to pay. and I think he put up, 256 against West Indies or something insane like that. Kane Williamson was a man amongst boys today. He did everything to help this team win. 85 runs on 48 balls. Guys, that's 177 strike rate. That is a performance for the ages. In a championship game, he did everything he could possibly have done. And it was a beautiful ball that got him by Hazelwood, by the way. Hazelwood getting, three of the biggest wickets, all right? Mitchell, Williamson, and of course, Glenn Phillips, right? The Dragon Slayer over there. So, man, unbelievable performance by Kane Williamson. I don't think he has anything. I mean, he's upset, obviously, because he wanted to win, but he can't hang his head. He can't hang his head. He did everything he needed to do, and I tip my hat to, one, Kane Williamson, all right? On the bowling side, guys, Trent Boult was equally as good and as impressive as Josh Hazelwood. 4 overs, 18 runs, 2 wickets in a championship game. The only 2 wickets. All right. The only 2 wickets. He had no help. The bowling performance, and that's what it's at. The bowlers did not show up today. Okay. The bowlers didn't show up today because a 170, the highest score ever before Australia batted, which now they set it at 173. 172 should be enough, guys. It should. But when you can't take wickets, it's just, what are you going to do? So, again, Trent Boult, he tried to lead his team. It didn't work out, but he has nothing to hang his head on. What did I hate, guys? It's really simple. The bowling on New Zealand, the fielding. New Zealand fell apart today. I saw drop catches from New Zealand. That doesn't happen. Okay. Trent Boult, there was one, I think it was Southfield ball. It was Trent Boult. One came back at him, and you would have thought, man, he has to catch that. But it was, one of those cotton ball situation, almost took his head off. But he has to catch that. Even that would have been his 3rd wicket right there. I think somebody actually dropped one of his wickets early in the game. I can't remember. It might have been one of his. So he could have had a 3 or 4 wicket haul, honestly, because he bowled beautifully today, Trent Boult. But the bowling was atrocious. Okay, they were searching for wickets. They starting with Tim Southee, right? 43 runs. He didn't even get through his 4 overs. The guy got absolutely pumped. It was so just so bad. It was so bad. And you're saying to yourself, who is gonna help? Okay. Sodhi. All right. Sodhi is the spinner, right? The front line spinner. Obviously, we got Mitchell Satner in there. And Sodhi was supposed to be in there to go and stop that onslaught of Mitchell Marsh, right? Because Mitchell Marsh struggles against spin. He did no such thing. He got hootied. You're going to say, Gabe, but a hootie is when you give up 50 runs. He gave up 40 runs in 3 overs. Give him another over, he would have gave up 50 runs. So to me, that's a hootie. Oh, Sodhi let his team down. He's the frontline spinner. Australia struggles against spin along with Mitchell Marsh, and he did not get it done. So, I mean, he needs to look at himself in the mirror, look at that performance, and say, did I give my all out there? And maybe he did. But it wasn't just him. Adam Milne, not a wicket. All right. Connery rate was good at 750, but no wicket there. And Jimmy Neesham got put in for 1 over, and that's all he saw because he gave up 15 runs in 1 over. That was enough. They already had seen enough, and they said, I want no parts of that. Thank you very much. Okay, on the batting side, all right, I will say that when you put up 173 or whatever it is, or 172, it should be enough, right? It absolutely should be enough. And I'm not going to be mad at any of the wickets, the guys that lost their wickets, because, again, Zampa's ball amazing, and Hazelwood with his 3 wickets were amazing. But I think that early on, and I think it was more Gupta than Kane Williamson, they really try to take their time because especially after that first wicket fell, okay, it was like, okay, we got to slow things down. And that, I think that hurt them. That was to their detriment because they were scoring at a slow rate. And the 8th over or beginning of the 9th over, they only had like 50 runs, 57 runs. So they left themselves so much more. Imagine if they had started the way they finished, they could have put up a bigger score of 180, 190. And if you get to that, I don't think Australia chases 180 or 190 down. as it is, it took him into the 19th over to chase down 173. So to me, I think that even though those guys, it wasn't like they gave away their wicket cheaply, no stupid runouts or anything like that. It was the approach, batting slowly, not aggressive enough, that might have hurt them in the end. As far as Australia, what did I hate? Guys, you know what? This was a great performance, but it's a glaring issue that has to be addressed. Mitchell Starc, 60 runs, not a wicket to be found, 2 wides, a no ball. He was out of form. And then the biggest thing is, I'm hearing he's hurt. Could he possibly be hurt again? When did he get hurt? This game, the last game? Is Mitchell Starc ever been fully healthy? All I hear is this guy has the greatness in him to be a Patty Cummins. He's got the best pace on the team, but he's always hurt. My first impression of Mitchell Starc as a cricket fan was him getting hurt like the first game he played in the IPL. Like, this guy's always hurt. So if he's hurt again, that's like, oh my gosh, you can't count on him. You can't count on him. But for me, I really feel that it's I don't know if it's management. Some guys are just prone to injuries, especially hard throwers are prone to injuries. But maybe he has to do something differently. Take up Pilates, yoga, whatever, in order to get more flexibility. But you cannot be a frontline guy that we can't count on because we don't know if you're going to be in there. Okay? And as long as I've been watching cricket, Mitchell Marsh is always hurt. He's always hurt. And to me, that's a frustrating thing. The last thing I didn't like, Aaron Finch lost his wicket and lost it early. It might have been a blessing in disguise. A lot of people said that because then, we saw Mitchell Marsh go in there and he did his job. But you're the captain of the team, Aaron Finch, and you lost your wicket early in the last game as well. David Warner needs help. So Finchie needs to, and Finchie's had some good performances in this tournament. It wasn't like he was Glenn Maxwell. Glenn Maxwell was terrible this whole tournament. He showed up today. But Finchie has to rise to the occasion when it's this big of a game. He lost his wicket in the third over, all right, guys? Not acceptable. Not acceptable. Now on to what I learned. And first and foremost, I want to start off with Australia. Okay? And why do I want to start off with Australia? Because they're winning. They're the winners. Obviously, they're the champions. But Australia was in the worst form as a team that I believe most Australians hadn't seen in a while. And this probably still dates back to, Australia finding their way out of the storm and the controversy that was Sandpaper Gate, right? You've brought in JL, he's righted the ship there for a minute, but it's still been shaky, a lot of controversy. And then this last year, Australia, one of the most lauded teams, has experienced losses you just don't see, all right? They got destroyed. I mean, the Gabba falling to India, and I get it. India's a great team. India's probably still, in my opinion, one of the two top 3 teams in the world. But man, the Gabba fell, and when that series happened, you could just see the pressure mounting. And then even after that, guys, the last 3 T20 series these guys have had, they've lost all of them. All right. They lost to New Zealand 3-2, close in February, 3-2. But there was a game there where they got absolutely hammered, right? They gave up 53 runs. That was an embarrassing loss there. Whatever. It's New Zealand. Everybody respects New Zealand. They got a good white ball team, whatever. Then they played my West Indies. And my West Indies held court in July. Smacked them 4-1. They almost got whitewashed in the series. That wasn't even close. 4-1. They won one game. They lost one of those games by 52 or 56 runs. Okay? And you're thinking to yourself, okay, if you lost the last 2 T20 series going towards the World Cup, you're surely going to beat Bangladesh. Yeah, almost got whitewashed again. 4-1 in that series, guys. And they had a 63-run loss there. Guys, this team was reeling. This team was absolutely reeling. And to me, what changed was A, David Warner getting fit, and B, the bowling, again, getting fit. Mitchell Marsh, this tournament, not today was standing, had been good. This is a guy that's always been hurt, right? They hadn't had their whole sides together. Jihan mentioned that they hadn't been playing a Mitchell Marsh, a Patty Cummins, Josh Hazelwood at the same time, because I don't think they realized how good Hazelwood was, but at the same time, because they never really placed the emphasis. And I think that after they lost to Bangladesh, there was a hard look, I know the Ashes are coming up, but this is still international cricket. And we just got embarrassed. We've lost the last 3 series, nearly got whitewashed in 2 of them. There's got to be a change. And the Aussies came in with intent. And that just goes to show that a lot of times health, getting right at the same time is important, but also intent. All right. Give the value to T20 that what it is. And I understand that the Ashes is more important to them than T20. I understand Test is more important than T20, but it's not to the rest of the world. And when we're talking about the game growing and moving forward, unfortunately, T20 is probably going to be that tool. So Australia needs to focus on that, because that's what's going to keep them relevant in the game. And Australia, here's the thing: they're just a titan of the game, and they have to remain being so. So, what I learned today is that they do have the capability to compete in T20. They just have to show the intent. All right. With that being said, and go back to those matches, by the way. All 3 of those matches, you never had those 3 frontline bowlers in there together. All right. It was, you either had Cummings, you either had Stark, you either had Josh Hazelwood, but you didn't have them all in at the same time. So I think that is now showing this is our best team. We're going to put our best team forward, and that's what's going to make us successful. On the New Zealand side, what did I learn? I learned today that New Zealand, Kane Williamson taught me my lesson after he smacked my West Indies with 256. All right. Oh my gosh. But this is a team that proves that, it doesn't matter. Yes, resources are important, and they have resources. They put money into it. But proper management also matters. You cannot tell me a nation of 5 million can compete in every single format of the game. All right. 2019, nearly win an ODI championship, right? Comes down to the last ball. Crazy rule about most boundaries that I still don't understand. I mean, New Zealand just 2020 this year 2021 just beat India in the World Cup. All right, in England, and just made it to the T20 World Cup. Lost to Australia, guys. If they aren't right now the best ran organization, forget about the best team. All right, but the best ran organization, I don't know what is, because they do really well in player development. They pick players that other countries let go by the wayside. For instance, a Devin Conway, right, who should be playing for South Africa, but apparently they couldn't use a Devin Conway. And okay, we'll take them, and look what they've done with him. I think that they put their resources in the right place, and they've shown it doesn't matter how big or small a nation you are, as long as you, with intent, go in, use your resources correctly, and pay equal attention to all 3 facets of the game, you can compete. West Indies, my West Indies, pay attention to all facets of the game and really allocate those resources. Until you don't put proper money and resources into developing all these teams, developing these squads into scouting, then you're going to lose talent from your own backyard, guys that you could have had, like Devin. They got Devin Conway from South Africa, and they've drawn up a blueprint to how to compete against an England, against an Australia, against an India, billion people. And that's what New Zealand's done. So if you're a New Zealand fan, guys, I know it hurts. I know it stings, but you can say my team's been in all 3 championships of all 3 formats and won one of them. 1 for 3 ain't bad, and 3 for 3, getting to that dance is amazing. There's still great things on the horizon, guys, for New Zealand. With that being said, guys, this was an unbelievable World Cup. Rocking my Australian baggy green here. Rocking my Australian baggy green. Enjoying it. A lot of shout out to the Australian fans that kept the faith, all right? My man Jihan. I remember I lost it when Australia, because I knew how bad they were coming into this tournament. And then they started looking good. They hadn't lost. And okay, I have faith, because the West Indies completely disappointed me. And then they lose to England, and I lost my mind. And Jihan's like, Gabe, calm down. England is probably one of the best sides here. They won't have to see England again until the finals, even though they lost to England here. So they're doing well. They lost. It is what it is. But keep the faith. And Jihan always keeps that faith. I got to be better about it. And man, Aussie fans, be elated. Now you could say, hey, we have our first ever T20 championship. JL's job, I think, is safe unless, God forbid that they lose or even tie. I mean, if they tie, I think he'll still survive tying at the Ashes. But if they lose the Ashes somehow, then yeah, JL gets sacked. But this brought him a lot of rope, guys, a lot of rope. And, celebrate. All right. All right. Rejoice. Australian fans, rejoice. With that being said, don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, that's 6 runs.